WHAS 11, weather first.
Right now at 5 on WHAS 11 News on this gorgeous but very cold winter day. Just in late today. Good news, JCPS going back to those school buildings tomorrow. Normal school is back after 2 days of NTI. The buses are going to be rolling in the morning. All students and staff will be back in the classroom. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Shay McAllister, but our winter weather isn't over yet. Christina San Juan joins us now. Christina, such a cold start to the day. How are we looking now?
Yeah, some folks down to the south actually woke up to real temperatures this morning that were in the negatives. We had -7-degree readings, not wind chills, but your actual air temperature waking up this morning. But thankfully, we have at least somewhat recovered, close to 30 degrees right now, at least a huge improvement from what we've seen the last 3 afternoons. Plus, that sunshine certainly does not hurt. We're holding on to 30 degrees, even just shy of that freezing mark around Jasper, Indiana. But the wind chill does pack quite a bit of a punch for us, as it's still feeling like it's 18 right now in Jasper, and it feels like 10 in E-Town. 12 is your wind chill temperature reading there in Hodgenville. We do have winter weather advisory thanks to the light snow that we're expecting to move into Kentuckiana tomorrow afternoon and through our Friday morning. Now, this includes all of the WHAS 11 viewing area. It goes into effect at noon tomorrow. So let's get you started on Futurecast this evening. Temperatures just going to be falling down into the upper teens and lower 20s. Yes, still a bitterly cold start to the day, but again, not nearly as bad as the last couple of mornings have been. Clouds will start to fill in through the course of the morning ahead of that snow that's going to be starting up for us right around 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, and mainly on the Kentucky side of the river, but then going to be spreading across all of Kentucky. And I'll tell you just how much snow you can expect to see in just about 15 minutes, guys.
Christina, thank you. Do you know what today is? It's the 30th anniversary of the winter storm of '94 that brought Kentuckiana to a halt, but also brought out the very best in all of us. Stay with us. We're going to be dedicating our 5:30 newscast to that giant storm. We're also going to be joined by a surprise live guest in just a few minutes. But happening right now, I-64 eastbound is still shut down just east of downtown Louisville. It was a deadly, fiery crash involving semis and cars early this morning on I-64 right outside of the Cochran Hill tunnels.
It involved 5 vehicles, 2 semis, 2 cars, and a garbage truck. We want to give you a look here at our video from the Sky 11 drone. Traffic is now flowing. Traffic flowing there on I-64 West heading toward downtown. As Louisville crews dismantled the wreck on the eastbound side, you can still see there quite a mess.
Our Ian Hardwitt and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton bring us a closer look at the scene. They were right on top of the Cochran Hill tunnels.
We're on top of Cochran Hill's tunnels, and behind me you can see the scene of a crash that closed down both lanes of I-64 into the early morning. It's up here. We talked to a woman who lived nearby who woke up around 5 a.m. to the sound of the crash.
I heard the garbage truck, and I thought, what is the garbage truck doing at the middle of the night getting garbage? And then I heard another sound like a can opener. It's a metal sound.
Higher up from the Sky 11 drone, you can see the scorched front ends of the semi-trucks and crews slowly dismantling the now frozen wreck while traffic continues to flow in the westbound lane headed toward downtown Louisville. Before dawn, Louisville Fire deployed what they called the Red Dragon, literally fighting fire with fire as they struggled against the single-digit cold to keep water flowing. After battling the blaze down, ice froze the trailers and cargo to the road.
We don't have hydrants on the interstate. When you've got multiple vehicles that are on fire, water supply becomes an issue, but our crews were able to get up there, get some unconventional ways of getting water to put out those fires.
LMPD's traffic unit is investigating the crash. The 5-vehicle pileup ultimately killed one of 2 semi-truck drivers. FedEx tells us in a statement they are cooperating fully with the investigating authorities at this time. In Cherokee Gardens, Ian Hardwitt, WHAS 11, on your side.
Now, almost 12 hours later, take a look at this. This is a live look at the area, and you can see traffic still being detoured off onto Grinstead. It is not a pretty sight over there.
Again, eastbound lanes on the left side of your screen. You can see westbound's been moving pretty well today. Eastbound lanes, again, still closed at the moment. And the firefighting effort also caused a lot of the roadway to freeze again in our Arctic air. We're keeping an eye on it for you. And by the way, if you have our WHAS 11 app, we'll send you an alert once I-64 eastbound reopens. Well, just a few minutes before that crash today, Louisville firefighters were busy with a two-story apartment fire at 33rd and West Market Street in West Louisville. Fire crews rescued 3 people from inside. One of the 3 folks there had to be taken to the hospital.
Fortunately, one occupant that was in the room of origin was rushed to the hospital, currently in critical condition. But crews were able to contain the fire to that room of origin so it didn't spread. The other people are getting warm in our vehicles, and Red Cross will be there to help them with shelter if they need it.
That's Louisville Fire Chief Brian O'Neill. He says the department sees an increase in fires this time of year when the temperatures drop so rapidly. He's asking you to be very careful about using unsafe methods to stay warm and also be careful with space heaters. If you need to warm up, the department recommends heading to one of the 2 shelters in Louisville with white flags in place. That's Wayside Christian Mission and the Salvation Army Center for Hope.
Now we turn to southern Indiana, where 2 teenagers were found unresponsive in a car in Seymour. Police say a 16-year-old boy died in the car. An 18-year-old woman was hospitalized. Investigators now believe carbon monoxide played a role. Seymour police say the discovery came Tuesday morning on Shield Avenue. At that time, they say Kelly Rendon still had signs of life and was rushed to the hospital, but Pascal Philippe Miguel was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators say they're looking into the car as they wait for the toxicology results.
Right here in Kentucky, state House leaders in Frankfort have revealed their proposed budgets for the coming year, and while they do prioritize a boost to educational funding, they don't go as far as to guarantee those teacher raises you've heard so much about. The GOP budget proposal calls for more money to both the state's funding formula for K-12 schools and for student transportation. If passed, it would be up to the districts to decide how to spend that increased funding. In Governor Andy Beshear's proposal, he asked for an 11% raise for teachers and universal pre-K. Instead of preschool, Republican lawmakers are calling for additional funds to maintain higher reimbursement for providers. House Speaker David Osborne of Prospect says lawmakers will strongly suggest to administrators that school personnel deserve and need the raises. Our Isaiah Kim Martinez will be here with us at 6 with more reaction to where lawmakers are moving on this.
2 young women have filed a lawsuit against a state-run juvenile detention facility. The women say they were neglected, abused, and deprived of health care and basic hygiene and more. Jemiah Kennedy and Will O'Neill are the plaintiffs in the suit. The claims date back to 2022 when both women were at the Adair Regional Juvenile Detention Center. Now they are out of the state's custody and are both adults. They say during their time there, they were held in isolation for months, unable to take showers. Both women say they took fewer than 20 showers each over the course of those months. They also say girls were not given access to period products. The women allege they did not receive mental health care and the detention staff would withhold medication as punishment. Multiple people are now named in this suit, including Vicki Reed, the former juvenile justice commissioner who resigned at the start of the year, the superintendent of the Adair County facility, and the state's justice and public safety secretary, Carrie Harvey, also named. Harvey is set to retire at the end of the month. The Department of Juvenile Justice sent us this statement saying, quote, "Neither the cabinet nor DJJ has been served with this lawsuit. However, we have obtained a copy and reviewed the complaint. DJJ works tirelessly to provide safe and effective services to the juveniles in its care. For any staff member who violates policy and procedure, corrective action is taken." They also denied the allegations addressed in the lawsuit.
The former president and CEO of the Louisville Urban League died on Tuesday of this week. Ben Richmond served as the organization's president for quite a while, from 1987 to 2015. The current league leader, Lyndon Pryor, talked with us last night about the impact that Richmond had on our city, especially in the business world.
Because Ben's focus during his tenure was so much about business and getting business to do the equitable thing. In the building of the Yum Center, Ben ensured that the spend with minority contractors was as high as it could be, and the highest at that time in all of Kentucky, in all of Kentucky's history.
We talked with the Louisville Urban League again late this afternoon, and the CEO there, Lyndon Pryor, says arrangements are still pending and that they will announce them once finalized. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has announced the public funeral for J. Michael Brown. He served many roles in our state: district court judge, deputy attorney general under the Attorney General Andy Beshear, and recently chief of staff at Simmons College of Kentucky. He was also here on WHAS 11 News many times over the years as a political and legal analyst. The funeral for J. Michael Brown will be in the Capitol Rotunda on this coming Saturday at 1 p.m. In addition to the service, Governor Beshear has ordered all flags at half-staff all day on Saturday.
Just ahead, these frigid temps easily can have your pipes frozen. What a plumber suggests you do right now. Plus,
was brutal.
It was a 1-2 punch that was devastating.
we know you still remember the impacts of the winter storm of '94. We're looking back on why the storm stays with us 30 years later.
In today's Kentucky Lottery jackpots, Mega Millions $236 million, Powerball $102 million.
The Kentucky Lottery, providing over $4.8 billion in grants and scholarships.
The world offers a multitude of opportunities for learning and growth, but all successful training requires the same key ingredients. At ExecuTrain, we are committed to moving your team forward through dedication, industry-leading expertise, and decades of experience. Thanks to our centralized training and operations, we use a targeted approach that is completely customizable to your business and employees. Together, we can reach new heights and experience the breathtaking beauty of the summit. Let ExecuTrain empower your workforce today.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
$35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. That's a lot for any parent, so we're here to help. Mom Squad has it covered. We're grappling with these questions ourselves. Might as well do it together. Mom Squad, every week, right here on your streaming app. And if you miss an episode, don't worry. Go to the Shows tab at the top of your screen, and you can find all the Mom Squad episodes covering all the topics that matter most to you.
Welcome to our streaming channel. Here you can catch up on all the latest news, weather, and sports you need. Countless hours of fresh, original content you can watch at any speed. Everything you love about local, plus so much more.
I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna let you go. No, never.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go.
Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast.
Jaylen Brown, 36th ranked player in category leagues. His ADP was 39. Look, I put a question out, which player did I get wrong the most? And there were many people, man, you really screwed up on Jaylen Brown. Did I?
Listen or watch today wherever you get podcasts.
Are you skeptical of headlines and what you see on social media? We are too. The Verified newsletter answers your questions, clarifies what's true and false, and even includes a daily fun fact. Go to verifythis.com/email to check it out.
Your money, helping you save, spend, and invest your money wisely.
Our First Alert Storm Team is forecasting temperatures to rise above freezing tomorrow afternoon, meaning those with frozen pipes might actually start to thaw out, maybe.
We ought to sound the news trumpets for that. Above freezing, it feels like it's been such a long time. But for some, of course, we're talking about the pipes, and that thaw-out time might be really when you see the real damage, and that's coming up. Alexis Jones and photojournalist Jessica Farley show you how to prevent it from happening.
As temperatures drop, many of us know what to do to keep our pipes from freezing. Cut on our faucets and keep cold areas insulated. But what happens when your pipes freeze anyway?
It just becomes a waiting game at that point.
But while you wait, Phil Tanner with Tom Drexler Plumbing says there's a couple steps you should follow. First, shut off your main water valve.
It's going to be something that looks like this. That's a simple off, on.
Then open your faucet.
As that water freezes, it's increasing the pressure in the pipe, and that's what causes the pipe to burst. So opening a faucet, turning it on, can help relieve that pressure and give it somewhere to go.
Turner says you can also use heating tape or a blow dryer to warm your pipes, but they're hardly effective.
Because you don't necessarily know where that water is frozen at. In most homes, you can't see all the piping to all of the fixtures. You'll see portions of it, but not all of it.
He adds, you're better off keeping an eye on your pipes in case they burst. If they do, double check your main valve is off. Clean up the water to prevent molding. Then most importantly, leave it in the hands of the professionals. In Louisville, Alexis Jones, WHAS 11 on your side.
And Phil Tanner went on to say, don't put a space heater close to your water pipes.
Yep, doing that, he says, could cause a fire. So, Christina, when we're talking about tomorrow, possibly rising above freezing.
Briefly.
Is it long enough to de-thaw the pipes?
Oh, that's possible. I would say probably not likely for us, though, because we are only going to be touching slightly above freezing for maybe 2 or 3 hours through the afternoon before a secondary Arctic push is going to knock those temperatures down Friday and into our Saturday. Thankfully, though, the end is in sight, and it does look like we're going to get those temperatures back on track as we head into the new work week. But we have a lot to deal with in the meantime here. This is what you need to know. We could initially start to see a wintry mix, perhaps some very light freezing rain, transition over to light snow through the course of your Thursday afternoon, and then we'll see all snow by Friday morning. That, in combination with the freezing rain, could contribute to some travel impacts, especially tomorrow for the evening commute and for the morning commute on our Friday, something we'll be paying very close attention to. And that results in those sub-zero wind chills returning for us Saturday morning. We have a winter weather advisory for our entire area. It goes into effect tomorrow at noon and lasting all the way until 7 o'clock Friday evening. On Futurecast here, you can see those clouds that are going to start to fill into the sky overnight tonight, waking up mostly dry but very cloudy. Temperatures not as frigid as the last couple of mornings have been. I'd expect those wind chills to likely be in the lower teens with real temperatures in the low 20s. Briefly making it right above freezing through the afternoon before we just get some light flurries and potentially some very light freezing drizzle tomorrow afternoon around 2, 3 o'clock. It's not until about 6 o'clock tomorrow evening that we start to see that transition over to all snow, mainly going to be starting south of the city before it eventually fills in across the entire viewing area here overnight Thursday and first thing on our Friday. This is 6 o'clock Friday morning, a time when a lot of us are heading outdoors. So again, you're going to want to have extra time on your morning commute. Temperatures are going to be dropping through Friday afternoon. We start the day in the mid-20s, and then we'll continue to see those numbers drop into the teens through your Friday, waking up Saturday to actual air temperatures, again, falling down into the single digits. So what everybody wants to know is just how much snow could we see? Well, if you're east of I-65, you're likely to see more snow than our folks that are off to the west of the interstate. So anywhere from about 1 to 3 inches, likely the farther east that you live, closer to Lexington, you could see the higher end of that range, around 3 inches. But here across Louisville, I'd expect right around 1 inch with lesser amounts off to the west. Here's your actual feel-like temperatures, though, going into Friday evening. Like I mentioned, we're falling back down into those single digits, and then even sub-zero wind chills looking likely for Saturday morning, only recovering to about 7 degrees for those wind chills Saturday afternoon. Outside right now, we're holding on to temperatures that are right around 30 degrees, but it feels more like the teens. 16 is how it feels right now in Shepherdsville. We will be falling down to about 20 degrees. Those wind chills anywhere from about 10 to 15 degrees out the door tomorrow morning, and then just ever so slightly making it above freezing tomorrow afternoon before we get that snow to push in across Kentuckiana. That'll linger into first half of our Friday with those temperatures falling through the day. Brutally cold on Saturday with a high of 21 degrees before getting back on track. Thankfully, Sunday we'll see that sunshine return, temperatures still below freezing, but then returning to 40 degrees and even a 50-degree temperature here in our 7-day forecast. Doug and Shay.
Christina, thank you. On this winter storm anniversary, it's also the birthday of the greatest. How the Muhammad Ali Center in downtown Louisville is celebrating what would have been Muhammad Ali's 82nd birthday by helping the community.
When it comes to a weather forecast, there's one thing you want. accuracy.
So it's no wonder everyone claims to be the most accurate.
But there's only one group of meteorologists who have earned the title. The WHAS 11 First Alert Storm Team, certified most accurate by Weather Rate.
Temperature, rain, snow, or wind, it doesn't matter what heads our way.
If you want to know how weather will impact your day, turn to the team that's always on your side.
The WHAS 11 First Alert Storm Team, the most accurate.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
If you're looking for great local programming and more, you found it. Welcome to our streaming channel. Here you can catch up on all the latest news, weather, and sports you need. Countless hours of fresh, original content you can watch at any speed. To stay up to date on what's happening above you, around you, or around the world. Stay in the national know or binge watch your own backyard. Stream everything you love about local, plus so much more.
Today would have been Muhammad Ali's 82nd birthday, a man many know to be a boxer, but was so much more through his actions and values. Louisville, of course, was his hometown, and it's where he's laid to rest at Cave Hill Cemetery. Today, the city he loved so much, giving back in his name. The Muhammad Ali Center is hosting a celebration, which starts in just a few minutes. From 5:30 to 7:30 tonight, Islamic Relief USA is hosting a volunteer meal packing event to help combat hunger and feed local families in need. They aim to get 40,000 meals packed to be distributed across Metro Louisville. Learn more about Ali's history, both in and out of the ring, at the Muhammad Ali Center. It is open from 10 a.m. through 5 p.m. the rest of this week.
And check this one out. The slopes are finally open. Paoli Peaks, they welcome skiers and riders for the first time this season, just this afternoon. And last week, officials said it wasn't cold enough to open. The Arctic Blast for tubing is not open just yet, but if you want to ski and snowboard, head that way. They are open tonight until 10 p.m.
So good to see. Well, in Paoli, they loved the winter storm of '94. It tested us all, but there are many great memories, and our special look is coming for you next. We brought back Rachel Platt. She and I kicked off our coverage that morning. Little did we know we would be on the air nonstop.
Also for you, still ahead, your great memories, a surprise live guest, and home video from 30 years ago. Plus, we're in much better shape today with snow removal, all thanks to the winter storm of '94.
Attention military personnel, families, and civilians who were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987. If you or a loved one lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune, call the Victims Justice Group now. You may be entitled to significant compensation. The U.S. government recently passed a law allowing servicemen and women, their family members, and civilian workers who lived or worked on the base at Camp Lejeune for at least 30 days to seek justice for injuries caused by toxic water. If you or a loved one suffered injuries associated with the toxic water at Camp Lejeune, including bladder, kidney, or liver cancer, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, adult leukemia, or aplastic anemia, call the Victims Justice Group now. Our attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve for your pain and suffering. Military personnel, their families, and civilian workers who served, lived, or worked at Camp Lejeune from August 1953 to December 1987 may be eligible for compensation. Don't wait. Call our helpline now.
If you're looking for great local programming and more, you found it. Welcome to our streaming channel. Here you can catch up on all the latest news, weather, and sports you need. Countless hours of fresh, original content you can watch at any speed to stay up to date on what's happening above you, around you, or around the world. Stay in the national know or binge watch your own backyard. Stream everything you love about local, plus so much more.
35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. That's a lot for any parent, so we're here to help. Mom Squad has it covered. We're grappling with these questions ourselves. Might as well do it together. Mom Squad every week right here on your streaming app. And if you miss an episode, don't worry. Go to the shows tab at the top of your screen and you can find all the Mom Squad episodes covering all the topics that matter most to you.
When it comes to a weather forecast, there's one thing you want: accuracy.
So it's no wonder everyone claims to be the most accurate.
But there's only one group of meteorologists who have earned the title: the WHAS 11 First Alert Storm Team, certified most accurate by weather rate.
Temperature, rain, snow, or wind, it doesn't matter what heads our way.
If you want to know how weather will impact your day, turn to the team that's always on your side.
The WHAS 11 First Alert Storm Team, the most accurate.
Years ago, your driveway looked like this, lined with a wall of snow.
January 17th, 1994. Cranking open a window? No way. The snow said you're staying inside.
It meant no school for days as this historic snowstorm settled in around Louisville's historic buildings that said, hey, we've seen it all.
As Brian Carter recorded this home video in 1994, you had to do a double take driving around Louisville, asking, what street, what neighborhood is this?
And finally, toward the end of it all, listen to the good news from the late WHAS radio reporter, John Asher.
At this hour, LG&E has fewer than 500 customers that are still offline.
And welcome, everyone. It's a day that many of you cherish, but most would like to forget forever. 30 years ago today, it was the winter storm of '94, the storm that brought Kentuckiana to a stop for days. And hi again, I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Shay McAllister. This is a big anniversary. Here at 5:30, we are going to take you back during this special half hour. We do have a surprise guest joining us live in just a second. Plus, the National Weather Service talks about that forecast that went back and forth.
But first, we begin with meteorologist Alden German and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton. They bring you the WHAS 11 archives 30 years ago when it stunned all of us.
A generational snowstorm 30 years ago today brought record-breaking snow and cold to Kentuckiana. Louisville experienced its coldest temperature ever of 22 degrees below zero, and Shelbyville saw the coldest temperature ever recorded in the state at negative 37 degrees. We're taking a trip back in time to the 1994 snowstorm. January 17th, 1994. Frozen in time like a snowy Pompeii, Louisville sits cold, isolated, and frustrated.
It was brutal.
It was a 1-2 punch that was devastating.
Nightmare.
Nearly 16 inches of snow fell in Louisville.
No letting up in sight.
A daily snowfall record for the city.
And our plans today, folks, to stay on the air right through the thick of this snowstorm.
Some communities around Kentuckiana saw even more. It started the night of January 16th. Snow was forecast, but not 16 inches.
I mean, we've just never seen anything like it before.
Temperatures plummeted to the coldest ever recorded in the city and state, 22 degrees below zero.
We've been talking about these down power lines.
Power outages and burst pipes made a bad situation worse, but still, more nightmares came.
Travel, not advised.
Traffic is not moving, and it has not been moving.
No one could go anywhere.
We had to put our arms on the front of the windshield and wipe the snow off. The snowflakes were as big as Dixie cups.
But they're not going any further.
They're not going to make it to downtown Louisville today, and there's no telling when we'll get all this cleaned up.
Louisville was crippled, and Mayor Jerry Abramson was trying to get it moving again.
It was really difficult to be able to get the community back into movement again. And all of a sudden, you're called on to provide the services that people need in terms of access to the roads, access to the hospitals, access to the dialysis clinics, access to the schools, and literally the community came to a halt.
It wasn't going to be a quick fix. Louisville was simply unprepared. People needed help, especially medical attention. This, according to former WHAS 11 news anchor Rachel Platt, is when the community began to shine.
For the community, what I remember is when truckers and motorists were stranded on the interstate, people coming from their homes in those areas. I remember in southern Indiana, people were walking out to give them water, to give them food, to make sure that they were okay. There was a young girl who needed a transplant, people shoveling a lot so a helicopter could get in so she could go and get the transplant.
I can't believe it, and I just say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
It was a sense of community, I felt, and neighbor helping neighbor at its best.
But this is probably the worst I've seen it in this town.
Doug Profit and Rachel Platt helmed WHAS's coverage starting at 5:30 that morning, providing a critical service before the time of social media to know who needed help and where.
Rachel and I would say, so-and-so has been in their house now for 48 hours without any heat, and they need somebody in an SUV to go get them. We can connect you with them, give us a call or whatever. And suddenly you would see 10 people show up at this person's house and rescue them.
It was days before the city even started to get things moving again, by which point the community was frustrated, stir-crazy, and cold.
Okay. Boy, this whole street that we've been talking to is near a road that looks great, but good luck getting to it.
Most of us still can't get out of our driveways, and Kentucky interstates are still closed.
Rush hour.
I-65 was shut down. Louisville International Airport was closed. People were trapped in their homes. Everything stopped.
We didn't have the kind of equipment and the kind of game plan to respond to 16 inches of snow and 22 below zero.
Mayor Abramson even got a phone call from the U.S. Transportation Secretary demanding to know what was happening. A major economic thoroughfare was closed, both land and air. UPS, the city's largest employer, was livid.
Well, once you shut down 65, even if people could get out, they couldn't get to UPS for overnight deliveries and second-day deliveries. And they came to my office and said, look, if you're not going to invest to be prepared for the next snowstorm like this, we're leaving. We're leaving.
Lessons were learned after that.
We need to get the essential personnel to their locations.
Mayor Abramson visited northern cities to learn how they dealt with snow. Afterwards, plows were bought for garbage trucks, brine was introduced to the city, and street clearing plans were made for main thoroughfares and residential areas. Perhaps most important in an economic sense, the airport was equipped with a massive runway clearing fleet so airline delays would be limited. It was a lesson learned the hard way. And something else happened from that storm.
9 months later.
That's
we
right.
haven't talked about that because that was one of the things that we ended up, don't you remember? There was a baby
Snow
boom.
babies.
People were snowed in for 2 weeks. Not everybody was watching TV.
Although we haven't seen such a crippling snow since, the question remains, is Louisville ready for the next time?
We're better placed. We've got better equipment. We'll be more quick to respond. But that was an incredibly unique situation.
I think we would be better off. Would we still have problems? Yes, but I don't think we would be shut down to the extent that we were.
Out of turmoil, beauty,
knock on ice,
and even humor could still be found years later.
Amazing to me how beautiful the community had become.
I'll give you a funny story. I went out of office, and I'm lying in bed with my wife 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I hear sleet on the roof, and I jump up, and I turn to my wife, and she says to me, "You're not the mayor. It's not your problem any longer."
A once-in-a-generation snow in 1994, Louisville now waits for its next generational snow in the 21st century. Reporting in Louisville with senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton, Alden German, WHAS 11, on your side.
There you have it, the trying times, and it ended all with things like this. Take a look. You're looking live right now at the official Winter Storm of '94 T-shirt WHAS 11 produced as a fundraiser for the Crusade of for Children. Our Connor Steffen, who wasn't born yet, found one, this one right here, in a local thrift store, and he bought it. And now we can show you who is holding the shirt for us tonight.
Our surprise guest who was in the middle of it all when the snow started falling.
Welcome, Ken Schultz.
I came in just to find out who the surprise special guest was. Wow. I mean, I finally have lived to this point.
Well, hey, listen, look what happened to me. I was 30 years old during that coverage.
And I was old, even then.
We have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah.
We do. Okay, Ken, I've got to ask first, where does this rank for you in your mind as like a top weather event for Louisville?
Easily top 5. And the only reason I say that top 4, I would say 5 in my career because of the blizzard of '78. I was in St. Louis at the time. But this one, the big snow of '98, the ice storm of '08, you know, those also rank right up there as well.
So you were our meteorologist on the air at the time when Rachel and I were in this very studio. I was wondering, you know, at one point we heard thunder.
Oh, yes.
We heard thunder in a winter storm, and Rachel and I turned over you were over there, and we said, Ken, what is that? And you said,
that's an oh poo moment. Because basically, you know, we had refined the forecast and we had a lot of confidence in it at that time until the lightning and thunder. And at that point in time, it becomes convective, and it's like a thunderstorm in the summertime. There is a downpour of rain. In this case, downpour of snow. And so all snow accumulations, all the bets were off at that point.
It's just like unlike anything I've ever seen. I haven't lived in Louisville that long, but I love looking back at this. What's your feeling when you're sitting in this studio? You know people out there are struggling or playing or whatever. What's going through your mind during this coverage?
You know, you almost have to categorize that because I have personal feelings, professional feelings. I was a bystander in some cases. I mean, I got into weather to see storms like that, and I was a participant. So in each category, there are memories and thoughts that are associated with that storm.
You know, Rachel and I thought we got in here early. It was a struggle to get in, but you were in here before us. Tell me what it was like for you coming in. What time did you get here that day?
Well, we knew it was going to start off as freezing rain. In fact, we really I went to bed thinking it was going to be more of a freezing rain episode, and that's part of the reason why snow accumulations fluctuated so much. At one point, we were saying 6 to 12 inches of snow, and then all of a sudden it's an inch or two, but what people forget is we were saying a half to 1 inch of ice as a possibility, which would rival or exceed what we had in '08. So it was a dangerous winter storm, no matter which weather product we were going to be dealing with. I went to bed early Sunday evening, got up and hit the road at midnight, and I had to stop 2 times on the interstate to clear the windshield because the defrosters and the windshield wipers weren't keeping up with the snow accumulation. We were getting 2-3 inches of snow an hour. So that was a problem. I went on the air, did my first cut-in. I forgot what time, 2:30, 3 o'clock or something. And the only thing I can remember out of that was saying, I'm officially canceling rush hour. There is not going to be rush hour this morning, and that's probably the best forecast I made the entire day. So.
Did you know then you were driving in and you were going to be in downtown for days?
No, and let me explain that too. Because
none of us had clean underwear.
Well, and so we were put up at the Seelbach, I believe.
Where you could walk to it.
And after the second day, I decided to do a little bit of laundry, right? And as best I could. The only problem is, that night, the heat went out at the Seelbach, and so I walked to work for Wednesday morning in 22 below zero weather with wet. Everything.
Oh, no.
Frozen as it was.
Christina San Juan is joining us, Ken, and she's got some questions for you. Hey, Christina.
Well, Ken, as we know, forecasting snow is difficult, just plain difficult, even with all of the technology that we have nowadays. But 30 years ago, surely that wasn't the case. How did you do it?
The models that you're using now, for example, Colleen, yourself in the evening, that's 2, 3, 4 generations past what models we were using, computer models that we were using back in '94. So there was a lot of holes to fill in. And I refer to that period of time still as the end of the Wild West period in broadcast meteorology, because for a long time, basically, it was my guess versus your guess. And then we got computer models, so we got a little bit better at it, but we are still at kind of
Was it still being printed on teletypes and print paper?
Dot matrix printers, Doug. We were as advanced as dot matrix printers at that time. But we were still having fax machines, print maps, and things like that, yeah.
Well, it's been great for you to come in. I'll give you a hug for all of us.
Thank you.
Go ahead and toss to Christina for the forecast, Ken.
We have some snow in the forecast. I'm assuming that you're not going to have to come in at midnight on Friday or whatever.
Absolutely not. No, I do have some of these snow totals that we're looking at from 30 years ago. If you take a look at this, yeah, not forecasting snow anywhere near that much. We had over 10 inches in Bardstown, Kentucky, Lexington as well, and Scottsburg, Indiana got in on the action too, actually clocking in 7 inches of snow, and not to mention that cold. You think it's cold out there right now? Well, we set that record low temperature for the entire state of Kentucky in Shelbyville, actually falling down to negative 37 degrees, as Alden said earlier, and then Louisville and E-Town both fell down to 22 degrees below zero, and that's the actual air temperature, not even the wind chill. So that makes it seem not so bad outside right now, right? All things considered, we're holding on to temperatures that are either side of 30 degrees from Jasper over to Louisville, and then we have a bunch of 22s from Shepherdsville down to Campbellsville. Your wind chills, though, yeah, it's still pretty cold outside, feeling like 18 in Jasper, and it feels like 16 Shepherdsville, 11 in Frankfort. And we do have a winter weather advisory in effect tomorrow afternoon, lasting through Friday evening at 7 o'clock due to the incoming snow that we are forecasting here. So I'll walk you through Futurecast, tell you exactly how much snow to expect coming up in just about 15 minutes. Shane, Doug.
So much more than we had in '94.
Weather Service radar. You can see a band.
So what happened with that forecast, and how does the National Weather Service look at it today? We caught up with the head of the Louisville National Weather Service, who explains what they learned from that storm.
But first, everyone always forgets what happened just 24 hours before the winter storm of '94, and it was a Sunday, and it was a blast.
The world offers a multitude of opportunities for learning and growth, but all successful training requires the same key ingredients. At ExecuTrain, we are committed to moving your team forward through dedication, industry-leading expertise, and decades of experience. Thanks to our centralized training and operations, we use a targeted approach that is completely customizable to your business and employees. Together, we can reach new heights and experience the breathtaking beauty of the summit. Let ExecuTrain empower your workforce today.
35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. That's a lot for any parent, so we're here to help. Mom Squad has it covered. We're grappling with these questions ourselves. Might as well do it together. Mom Squad, every week, right here on your streaming app. And if you miss an episode, don't worry. Go to the Shows tab at the top of your screen, and you can find all the Mom Squad episodes covering all the topics that matter most to you.
When it comes to forecasting the weather, everyone claims to be the most accurate.
But there's only one team who has earned the title, the WHAS 11 First Alert Storm Team, certified most accurate by Weather Rate.
Just another way WHS 11 is on your side.
If you're looking for great local programming and more, you found it. Welcome to our streaming channel. Here you can catch up on all the latest news, weather, and sports you need. Countless hours of fresh, original content you can watch at any speed. To stay up to date on what's happening above you, around you, or around the world. Stay in the national know or binge watch your own backyard. Stream everything you love about local, plus so much more.
The day before the winter storm of 94 started was a Sunday, and WHAS 11 News was on the air early that morning with a team coverage of another blast.
It was a big one, an implosion. I was right here up on our rooftop anchoring that freezing morning as the Commonwealth building by the Brown Hotel was brought right to the ground.
We're promising you full-blown, no-talk coverage when the building comes down. None of us will be talking, so you'll get to watch it right here on WHAS 11.
The 21-story building at 4th and Broadway came down in seconds.
It was built in 1928 and was originally named after Martin Brown, the Martin Brown building, the brother of the man who built the Brown Hotel, J. Graham Brown. Here's some of our coverage from that day.
There were some advantages to seeing the implosion live. There was the countdown.
3, 2, 1.
And it was hard to beat this for view.
What a crowd. Little we know is coming next. Our coverage was a 30-minute special. Just before we went off, the late WHAS 11 chief meteorologist Chuck Taylor came up to the rooftop and told us to include a line that we could have a sizable snowfall shaping up. That forecast would later change.
And about that change, we are going to hear from the head of the Louisville National Weather Service about what happened with that forecast and why.
But first, it's the rant line for you, the Winter Storm Anniversary Edition. You've been calling us about it. We've got all of your memories next.
If you're looking for great local programming and more, you found it. Welcome to our streaming channel. Here you can catch up on all the latest news, weather, and sports you need. Countless hours of fresh, original content you can watch at any speed. To stay up to date on what's happening above you, around you, or around the world. Stay in the national know or binge watch your own backyard. Stream everything you love about local, plus so much more.
35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. That's a lot for any parent, so we're here to help. Mom Squad has it covered. We're grappling with these questions ourselves. Might as well do it together. Mom Squad every week right here on your streaming app. And if you miss an episode, don't worry. Go to the Shows tab at the top of your screen and you can find all the Mom Squad episodes covering all the topics that matter most to you.
When it comes to forecasting the weather, everyone claims to be the most accurate.
But there's only one team who has earned the title, the WHAS 11 First Alert Storm Team, certified most accurate by weather rate.
Just another way WHAS 11 is on your side.
Tonight here on The Rant, if there's one storm that deserved a rant line, it's the winter storm of 94. But you had no problem filling up our emails, Facebook, phone lines, and great stories from 30 years ago. You know, we were all out in it, like the fantastic Chuck Olmstead right here, who was from Boston. Snow didn't get Chuck excited. He really didn't like it. And he always wondered why we always went nuts over it until the winter storm of 94.
Yeah, Doug, the snowstorm is responsible for one of the greatest joys of my life, my son. I just wanted to pass that on. My son is A.J. Wilson, and I'm so proud of him.
We went downtown, took the buses off the street. Buses were getting stuck. We had to walk back. We had to walk home. We had to walk in the streets back from town.
Chuck Mangione, Bella Via. Please play Bella Via. Thank you so much.
Hey, Doug, this is Deborah from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm looking at the newscast now where you're talking about the storm 30 years ago. I believe I was working at University Hospital. They got me home. I worked from 3 to 11:30 that night, and I did get home to my babies safe and sound. Those were the good old days.
Winter storm memories. Deborah in Louisville, I was stranded at home with a 2-year-old and thinking, if I have to hear the Barney the Dinosaur song one more time. Every time the snowplow came down our road, it buried my car under another 2 feet of snow, and Bella Via on WHAS played on and on and on. Berkeley and Louisville, that was the year we went sledding and skiing at Iroquois Park. Expected snow like that every year after. Rhonda in Louisville, I got pregnant during the storm. When my son was born, they had hats that said, "Snowstorm Baby." Amanda in southern Indiana, we piled up the snow real high and made snow tunnels, lots of snow ice cream. Linda in Valley Station, I could care less if we ever saw snow again, let alone that much. But Christy in Louisville, the best time of my life was 1994 with my husband and brother playing in all of that snow. Well, tomorrow, we're back to reality as if in 1994, it didn't do it for us. Here's how you can rant. On my Facebook page, I'm on X. There's the email address, therant@WHAS11.com. And call the rant line at 502-582-RANT. Have you all seen this VHS tape?
I've heard all about it.
It floats around the newsroom. Well, they did a fundraiser. This is our coverage from back then. It raised $85,000 for the Crusade for Children. Isn't that nice?
Between that and the T-shirt, I think I'd like the T-shirt a little better these days. But
thrift stores.
This is a great memento.
We would have to find something that still plays VHS tapes at this point. They take them away.
It's a good point, and we
cool.
are putting it on our WHAS 11 app. You can actually watch it there.
Oh, so cool. Well, it's perfect timing because we've got more snow right on the doorstep.
We do have some snow on the way, but very little impact expected for us across Kentuckiana and little accumulation, but I do think we could at least squeeze out our first 1 inch here in Louisville. Here's what you need to know about what we can expect over the next 48 hours or so. We could initially see some very light freezing rain transition over to light snow tomorrow evening through first thing on Friday, and that could certainly create some hazardous travel by way of some very thin glaze of ice on your commute Friday morning. That's also going to be ushering in another round of some Arctic air that's going to bring sub-zero wind chills for our Saturday morning, and that's why the National Weather Service has issued that winter weather advisory in effect at noon tomorrow, lasting all the way through Friday. This includes all of Kentuckiana with the exception of Jackson, Jennings, and Lawrence counties. Now, getting you going on Futurecast into the next several hours, we will see those temperatures dip down into the upper teens and the lower 20s. So wind chills out the door tomorrow morning. Still going to be very frigid, but not quite as bad as what the last couple of mornings have offered for us. Temperature is going to be falling throughout the day as we go into, climbing throughout the day, I should say. As we move into the 2-3 o'clock hour, we'll be right around freezing, and that's why we could initially see that freezing rain before it eventually gets cold enough to transition over to some snow showers. Moving right along into 6-7 o'clock tomorrow night, that's when we'll see all of that snow mainly going to be staying south of Louisville, though, until it eventually begins to spread out across the entire area by Friday morning. And again, this is when lots of folks could be heading out the door to work, sending those kids off to the bus. Do make sure that you're incorporating extra time if you are going to be on the roads, because I do expect to have some of those impacts. Through the course of Friday afternoon, that's when we start to see those temperatures dropping throughout the day. We'll start the day in the mid-20s and then end in the single digits. Going to be a very cold start to our Saturday, much like what we've seen the last few days. Temperatures falling into those single digits. We'll wake up to a lot of 5s, 6, and 7s. That's your actual air temperature there. In terms of accumulation, I did tell you that it looks like we could probably squeeze out right around 1 inch here in the city, and you'll have better amounts the farther to the east that you live. Don't plan on seeing a whole lot, though, if you're west of the interstate, as I expect probably right around a trace to 1 inch before the storm is done here. But nonetheless, we are at least going to get a pretty good dose of winter weather across the entire area. But by Saturday, we're really going to be feeling that cold as wind chills are expected to be between 0 to -10 out the door. But then we have something to look forward to. If you're not a fan of this extreme cold, going to be pushing the freezing point by Sunday and then recovering quite nicely into the 40s Monday into Tuesday. Tuesday also offers our next chance for some rain, and hopefully that can help clean off our roads, all of that salt that's still out there. Doug and Shay.
All right, Christina, thank you. Well, Ken Schultz just talked about it a little while ago. Most of us to this day believe that all of the meteorologists missed on that winter storm disaster. So what happened? As the snow came down, everyone wondered that very question. So we caught up the other day with John Gordon, the head of the Louisville National Weather Service office, and asked him.
You know, the Weather Service in Louisville originally had forecasted all the snow, and then they changed it on that Sunday to all this freezing rain, and then they had to catch up. So what are our lessons? Be more aggressive with the new data, using new tools, and put out a forecast and keep updating it, not waiting for 12 hours. Our mantra right now, if it's wrong, fix it and keep updating it. In 94, there were some things we could have done better. I was not here, by the way, Doug. I was not here in 94. But we always want to do a better job and get it right.
Gordon says in 94, they only had 2 computer models to look ahead, and now they have half a dozen or more, and they also use weather information from UPS jets to give them real insight, not available in 1994.
And of course, we have to wish a big happy birthday to WHAS 11's very own winter storm baby. That's Haley Roush there, right in the middle. She's 30 years old today. Haley is the daughter of Sarah and Mike. Mike was our news director at the time, who put together our team coverage on the day before. On Sunday, he wasn't going to take any chances on changing that forecast.
Again, we were all in here for that implosion, so we were about as ready as you could get for the surprise, and Mike led our newsroom while also racing back and forth to the hospitals as Haley was born. Happy birthday, Haley, and of course, happy birthday to Sarah and Mike.
Well, as we wrap up our trip down those snow-covered roads, we're going to take a look at how you saw the big storm.
We have been asking you to send us your photos from the winter storm the past week, and so here we go. 30 years ago, to the tune of course, Bella Via, played every year on this station since 1978. Love the kids there. Well, if you haven't had enough, we invite you to check out our great story about the winter storm of 94. It was produced and written by WHAS11.com journalist Joseph Garcia. He did a great job with our presentation.
And you can still add your memories to the page. You can also check out the great photographs from 30 years ago.
As you said, what a chore to get them out, and they sent them to us
Oh, we so
from the
appreciate
boxes.
it. Yeah, not as simple as today.
WHAS 11 News at 6 is coming up next with your top stories. I-64 eastbound still closed at this hour after a fiery crash this morning. We'll have an update on the aftermath from the Sky 11 drone next at 6.